Hi, welcome to the channel. I'm Brown. I'm trying out a slightly different editing style for this one. I was sharing about my journey with emotional suppression and the fact that I essentially remained emotionally suppressed for 30 years through my entire childhood and into my adulthood. And someone asked a really good question. They said, I recently met someone new and they struggle with emotional suppression. And I have trouble understanding how they have remained suppressed this long. Like, how does someone not get trained out of this when they enter into their adulthood? The first thing I wanted to say about this is there are those of us who tend towards suppression more than others. Uh, my sister and I talk about our upbringing, and we talk about the two different paths that you can take when you have a difficult parent in order to get your needs met, or at least protect yourself. The first is to shut down. The second is to become hyper vigilant and hyper attuned. And what I see with people's patterns is people who are a little bit more emotionally open, they tend towards that expression side, they'll become hyper attuned. The people like me who are more towards that suppression side will just shut down. We'll just become like a little shell, like a little armadillo for our whole life. This is actually what I see as the true meaning of introvert or extrovert. Introverts are those people who naturally go inward with their emotions. So I am way more likely to blame myself for something. I'm much more likely to hide. I'm much more likely to just like implode. And extroverted people are people whose emotions just kind of flow outward. These are some of my Pisces friends, my Cancer friends. They just flow their emotions out naturally. And it's probably why I hang around those people because they help balance me out. When I feel my feelings, I have to like consciously try to feel them. That's the feeling in my body. And I've always had some of this. So I wanted to start with that, which is like there are those two paths. And some people are naturally just going to be outward with their emotions. They cry and they can't help it. When I want to cry, there's like five different filters that it has to go through. Is like, is it okay to cry? Where my other friends are like, I wish I had that filter. I don't have that. It just flows outward. So, what is your childhood like when you grow up in emotional suppression? This was the crux of the video I made, which is we have different types of households. There's kind of a spectrum here. There's those emotionally expressive households, and then those emotionally flat households. And I actually find this is pretty consistent with for people who grew up in white families versus people who grew up in non-white families or ethnic backgrounds, black and brown people. My friend who's from the more expressive household is from a Jewish family. So uh, it seems kind of connected, like this culture of your household seemed kind of connected to British culture, because I know the Brits also have this, that there is a lot of emotional suppression. So what it feels like in those households is the baseline is always, I'm fine, everything's fine. Even if I'm angry, even if something is going on, I do not express it. And so you will never see any emotions on the surface. All arguments are like sort of hidden away and done in private. There is no open conflict, no, and really no emotional, um, no open emotiveness in general, even positive. So when you grow up in that kind of household, because everyone has to be flat and fine all the time, if there are emotions being expressed, it means we are not safe. It means someone is exploding, someone is blowing their gasket. There could be anger. But generally, if emotions are expressed, it is a sign that things are going wrong, that we're not okay. And what you learn if you grow up in that kind of household is when others show me their emotions, it means that they are unsafe or they cannot handle themselves. And what I sort of learned over time accidentally, I don't think that my parents would have wanted to teach me this, but um, nobody can handle their emotions. Like you have to like push it all down, and we just have to like be super solid and like it's not surprising that a lot of these people develop rigidity. If you think of like an army person or people who are like from very militant, like dismissive of emotions types of systems, they have a rigidity about them. It's like they're literally holding their emotions in their body. Um, so you just grow up. We have to be flat all the time. And if I am emotive, it means you're unsafe and I am unsafe. Partly because I'm not a skilled sailor with my own emotions. I'm not skilled at feeling my feelings. So when I do feel things, I don't know how to handle them. My parents don't know how to handle them. I don't know how to handle my parents having any emotions. In the other type of household, there is emotional expressiveness. I can yell at you, I can be upset with you, and then we recover from it. And it doesn't throw us off center in the same way if emotions are shown. And that was the kind of house that my friend grew up in. And we become friends. And now she shows me anger or she shows me sadness or something. And I'm like, I'm frozen. My nervous system can't handle it because my nervous system, my guitar of my nervous system, the chords are tuned to flat all the time. That's the only thing I'm ever okay with. So you get to adulthood. How are you going to deal with the world? Well, there are a lot of ways to stay suppressed and still deal with the world. One of them is what I did. I became an addict. You can become an addict or an alcoholic, and that will help you maintain your numbness and your escapism from life. You can become a shut in. You can never leave your house or leave your house rarely or do a certain number of limited activities, including not having close relationships that will keep you in your safety zone of emotional variance. You might notice people on dating profiles saying, I don't want any drama. And what that means is, I don't want you to have emotions. And if you do have emotions, I'm going to tag that as uh, drama or abnormal or not okay. I got clean when I was 18 years old. So then the question is, how did I maintain emotional suppression for another 12 years? I also was doing the steps at that time, working in the 12-step program. And so you would think that it would have massaged this out of me, kind of like slowly opened me up to my emotions. One of the ways that I was able to maintain suppression is I had pseudo relationships. So, pretty much all my long term relationships in my 20s were fawn responses. They were uh, people that I chose that I felt I could control the situation, that I could control the interaction enough that I didn't have to let people get close, very close to me, and I could like kind of play a role. And I never would choose people who could emotionally see me. And all of this was unconscious to me. I only recognized that this was the pattern once I turned 29 years old and I went through a big emotional shift, emotional change. What I see people doing is they just sort of have themselves in a box, like in a safe emotional box. And over time, they will just kind of walk around in their box where it's safe. Oh, they hit an edge. Maybe that edge is I don't cry in front of people. And they just, oh, I'm not going to cry. They just, right? But the thing that happens over time, if you stay in that box, is it gets smaller and smaller and smaller imperceptibly. The brain likes to have circulation to different areas. And so I'm not a neuroscientist, but sort of the way that I experience this in people is they seem to become rigid over time, running the same patterns of emotional suppression. these patterns produce a person who is not fully aware of their suppression. So if you're someone like me who uh, the emotions naturally sort of bubble up, and I already naturally want to push them down. But if I've been doing this my whole life, guess what? The emotions don't even come up to my neck anymore. I can't even feel that they're there. So my experience of the world is I just be myself, I just do my thing, and then I need to use drugs to be okay. And then sometimes I blow up on people, or I can't handle intimacy for some reason. Unbeknownst to me, it is long term emotional suppression, inability to feel feelings. And what went along with it for me was dismissiveness of other people's emotions, seeing other people expressing their emotions as a fault with them. Because what I had learned is control yourself, learn to control every expression that you have. And if you haven't learned to control yourself, then that is sort of in the shadow. The shadow self is saying, well, that's bad. And people who don't know how to control themselves are bad. So people keep themselves safe over time and they don't even realize what their little rules are. And when you ask them, how come you never leave your house? How come you've never had a long term relationship? They are subtly doing in their life, oh, I can't cross that emotional boundary. Oh, I can't cross that barrier. So, how do you help someone who is experiencing this? The first thing is that this person needs to agree with your assessment of the situation that they are emotionally suppressed, or that they uh, have a desire to fix this or ease this in some way. If they're not there, and you're just saying, hey, I'm noticing emotional suppression in you, and here are the ways that I am seeing this. You could also bring it up to them, huh, I'm curious why you do this. I'm curious why you do that. I'm noticing this certain thing. You don't even have to tag it as emotional suppression. See what they think about it. But the person has to be aware of it, sort of be aware of the maladaptive pattern, and be interested in working on it. If they're not interested in working on it, but they're interested in having a relationship with you, your question is, am I interested in having a relationship with someone who is emotionally suppressed and not aware of it, not willing to work on it, possibly? That's your question. So if the person is not aware of it, the best thing that you can do for them is say, hey, I am noticing this. Just being a mirror and noticing their things and not saying, like, I need you to change. I need you to stop. I don't like that. But just noticing it. Huh, I'm just bringing this up, something I noticed about you. The thing that helped me with my emotional suppression is that I flipped my understanding around of what that was. Shadow used to say, this is good, this keeps you safe. When I started doing my work, my value system shifted. So I said, oh, suppression of emotions and dismissiveness, that is actually the thing I want to be going away from. So I want to go towards emotions. I want to feel more emotions and I want to be near people who have more emotions. And when I did that, I was totally overwhelmed by those people. But I started to see the overwhelm as a healthy movement towards sensitivity. So in therapy world, when you're doing your emotional healing, there's sort of these two things that you become aware of. The first is actual toxicity, actually things that are bad for me. The other thing is uh, healthy discomfort. And so you learn how to move away from more of the toxic things, toxic relationship maybe, and you move more towards healthy discomfort. Uh, the way that healthy discomfort works is I slowly move towards it and I go, oh, discomfort. Okay. Okay, slowly move a little closer. It's kind of like stretching. And so that's how intimacy worked for me. I thought of it as kind of like easing yourself into that hot bath water. The bathwater is not going to kill you, but if you go all at once, it's going to shock you. So what I started seeing is like, oh yeah, my nervous system is shocked by emotions. I don't know how to handle my emotions when they come up, but can't be understated how buried the emotions were. So they don't even come up for me anymore because I've been suppressing them for so long. My emotions have learned we can't even send the signal. So I had to like get used to hearing the signal, and I became an intellectualizer. And I think that that's where a lot of my signals were going. Instead of feeling it in my chest or feeling it in my belly, I would just be spinning with thoughts, and I would be very plagued by a lot of anxiety, a lot of worry. And what I learned through a combination of therapy and probably watching YouTube videos is that my thoughts were just trying to prevent me from feeling my emotions. So I started going, if this thought were an emotion, what would the emotion be? I think it would be fear. I'm thinking about how fearful I am of things and how I'm going to solve those problems in the future. Oh, so instead of going, how do I solve my future? How do I solve my future? Instead, I can go, wow, I feel deeply afraid. And that somehow took the power out of it, where it was like, oh, I don't need to solve anything. I just need to feel deeply what this feels like. When you live in a body that is constantly detached from emotions and detached from a lot of the signals that the body wants to tell you, you feel deeply unsafe because you don't have a finger on the pulse of what's going on with the body. And I found that I would do all kinds of different things to try to like override my body, fix my body, instead of just like, what if we listen to the body and see what it's doing instead of like thinking about what the body is or isn't doing? Because I'm probably not going to be able to figure it out just with my thinking. So it's that detached thing. And there's a reason why I'm pointing to the neck a lot, because it feels like you're literally not in your body, you're all up in your head. When you've been in that pattern for a long time, there's a lot of different attitudes that you grow towards the feeling of feelings and emotions. One of them could be seeing emotional people in a negative light, but being even more attracted to those people because you have decided to push that energy away. And now that energy is a great balance for you, right? It helps you integrate yourself. So emotional people will come near you and you'll push them away, right? Because that's your shadow. Um, Another thing is just complete intolerance for any variability in emotion. And another thing is stiffness in the body, actual stiffness. So if you have someone that you want to work with who seems kind of emotionally suppressed, uh, you might approach them about moving the body more. Just like, hey, do you want to go to a dance class? Do you want to go to a salsa class? That way they can kind of like get some of it out of their body. If they're like me, I was unwilling to move my body. I was so embarrassed to move my body, and my body so wanted to move. Like once I finally allowed myself to move, I was like, oh, what a cage I have been living in my whole life. So the short answer is someone can stay emotionally suppressed because after a while, their automatic reactions, responses to life keep them in the emotional suppression. They don't have to think about it anymore. And then they just live in this body and they have no idea how they got there. It's a very unconscious process. So I hope this helps you and I hope you enjoyed this video.